You're listening to Never Heard of It, a Night Shift Radio original. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a rating and review if you're so inclined. For more information, visit nightshiftradio.com.
Good job. That was it was very well synced. You did good.
Not usually coordinated that way.
So, we watched the New Mutants last night.
Yeah. What did you think of it?
I actually, we haven't discussed what we thought of it collectively. I enjoyed it.
Well, I have my own thoughts.
That's what I'm saying.
Consciousness.
Like normally after a movie, he asked, "What did you think of it?" I'm like, we haven't discussed this. This is the first time discussing it. I enjoyed it. It wasn't as horror as I expected, and I read a little bit something from the original director or whatever that said that he was kind of forced to lean away from the horror elements, but apparently the reshoots never actually happened, so it was just delayed as hell.
Interesting. See, I thought it was really enjoyable. Like, I enjoyed Magic. Magic, was that her name? Anya Taylor. Yeah. I loved her character. I did not like the main character girl. I thought I thought her whole power set, I thought her power set was cool, but I was like, but why is she, Magic should be the main character. It makes more sense. I feel like I had more of an emotional, draw towards her than I did anybody else, because I was like, everything was just so vague with Dream Girl that by the time the ending happened, I was like, oh, she's the one making everything happen. I was like, oh, I guess. It's like, yeah. But Magic has a very tragic backstory that I really want to learn more about.
Well, apparently they were setting her up for a big role in sequels that never happen or may never happen.
Yeah. They'd be silly not to.
I wanted more of the backstory all around. It just felt unfinished to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that's literally true.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like the idea of the creeping horror element being related to Danny's power. But yeah, it was kind of weird that she was so much of the focus. And yeah, her story was so vague.
Yeah. I can only imagine, though, for not only the director of the film, but the writers and all the actors, because that film started being made and then the X-Men got released into the Marvel world. And so it was at that point, it's kind of well, what are we even doing this for?
Yeah.
It's not going to be integrated. It's not going to carry on. This is it. It's just going to, either people are not going to see it because they know it's no longer part of the Marvel universe and it's just going to get rebooted, or they're going to see it and be like, I don't know. I feel like that was probably just a really tough situation.
I also think that as much as I do not like horror movies, I think that this did need to be a horror movie.
Did or didn't?
It did.
Yeah, it needed to lean into the scary stuff.
Yeah, totally.
The previews had it being even more intense, and that's what I was really looking for.
Yeah,
but it was fine. I loved that they hinted at a huge involvement with Mr. Sinister, and apparently that was going to be John Hamm.
Who's Mr. Sinister?
Mr. Sinister is a big bad in the X-Men world, and it would have been fucking huge if they brought him in to this universe. He's his character's real last name is Essex, and the Ethics Corporation was behind everything. That would have been fucking dope.
I will always say yes to John Hamm.
Yeah, exactly.
They still have time to do. Mr. Sinister is bound to crop up in the Disney Marvel universe. He's just such a large part of the X-Men that I'm surprised even the original X-Men series, I get. I'm actually more surprised the original X-Men series 1 didn't do Sentinels, because those were the huge thing. They didn't even touch on them until the third one.
Yeah.
But Mr. Sinister's, that's huge. That's a whole Scott Jean thing. That's Cable. That's, there's so many characters that are heavily intertwined into Mr. Sinister. It just seems silly not to.
All they had to do was take the cue from the 90s animated series.
Seriously.
That we all loved, that that's what they were riding when they released the first X-Men movie, was the popularity of that series with the generation that was just getting old enough to go spend their own money at the movie theater. And like all they had to do was give us Scott and Logan fighting over Jean and Mr. Sinister fucking everything up in the background, and like, boom, done. Print money.
The way to do it. But we're not here to talk about X-Men movies or Marvel things. We will leave that to the Superpod Hero Cast, the guys with beers talking about movies and capes. Instead, we are here to talk about movies you've never heard of, with today as an exception. That being said, hello and welcome to the Never Heard of It podcast. I'm your host, Michael Fight.
And I am Caleb, and joining us today is a very special guest who you have heard me talk about many times on this show, how over the last 3+ years we've made her life miserable because of this podcast. And she is here to get revenge or speak her mind. I don't know, but please welcome Ellen.
Hey, everybody.
So we mentioned this earlier in the month, but we've been doing a Alien Invasion April, and I'm sorry if my sound gets a little weird. Penelope is climbing all over my lap right now, so the family's all here right now. Everybody's here.
The whole family.
But the whole Alien Invasion April was inspired by Ellen and I standing around at dinner talking, and her coming to the shocking realization that I had never seen Mars Attacks.
Which is a classic. I mean,
I am never in the situation where I am the one that has seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so usually it's, oh, that movie. I'm like, what? Who? What are you talking about? But Mars Attacks. I mean, which I realized I was 10 when it came out.
That's true.
Today. Is one that I have seen several times.
You weren't even prepared to admit how much of a nerd you were until a few years into our relationship. And yet, here we are, a sci-fi movie that should be right in my wheelhouse.
What the fuck are you calling a nerd?
I mean, she got a point.
She's a nerd, and it's fine.
Yeah, it's great.
I do just have one thing I have to get off the table. My inner Tina Fey is saying that everybody please stand up if you have been personally victimized by Michael Fight's movies choices.
Far too many people are about to stand up and laugh to themselves while listening to
that. Because we can see them standing now.
They are all standing. You know what?
Penelope is standing.
I stand by my convictions. And don't worry, I have many more lined up to offend, so do not fret. If you haven't stood up yet, I'll get you.
If you think it couldn't get worse, it can.
Just wait till
next
next
challenge. I didn't mean that as a challenge. I'm sorry, everybody.
That's great.
I'm also trying to do my best with this boom to not have it be right in front of Ellen's
right in her face for the YouTube. Yeah, no, it's good. It's framed really nicely now because now she's like either under it or her eyes go like right in between the two bars. So YouTube's gonna have a blast with this one. Oh boy. So so we're here to talk about Mars Attacks. We're finishing up our month of Alien Invasion, which we do want to point out is purely coincidental that there was this huge Pentagon thing coming out about aliens being real, and purely coincidental.
How did I not hear about this, but I heard about Mortal Kombat?
Well, it's so I really think it's the point that people made when like mid 2020 there was big news about like the Pentagon confirming that UFO footage was real, like just not confirming that aliens were real, but confirming that some UFO footage leaked from military sources. They're like, yep, that's real. And there was so much shit happening last year and still, but so much shit happening that we're like, yeah, of course there's aliens. Like, can we focus for a second on what's going on here? And so like that happened again, like just a few days ago, there was the release of some footage of like pyramid-shaped UFOs, and the Pentagon's saying, "Yep, as far as we know, that's real." And the editor for the Storyteller series, Mike, he even shared some footage that his wife Amy had taken of something very similar looking. It was like, yeah, this was probably around the same time.
Yeah, no, she flat out was like, yeah, there's the footage that she has is the exact same footage that was released by the official report from the Pentagon, basically being like, yeah, dude, those are aliens. But anyways, about our budget, we were thinking, everyone's like, no, like, let's go back one step where you were like, yeah, aliens, it's whatever. Come on, we've known about this for years, guys. We thought, you said they're real. And we said no, but everyone knew we were joking, right? I mean, come on. It was this funny game we do.
Yeah. Oh, of course, how convenient that now we have a Space Force. So now that we're admitting they're real, that's because we've got this elite force that we've put together to go fight them. I don't know, like maybe let's try not fighting the aliens.
I am totally into a Space Force if the goal is to like explore and protect space,
Starfleet?
But not like Starfleet. Yes, if it's Starfleet. 100%. If it's like, hey, I just want to go up on a satellite and shoot a laser down to kill brown people, I'm not for that part of Space Force. No. I'm for the other part of Space Force where we, go fuck aliens. That's the that's the part of Space Force
where we aren't forceful.
Right.
Michael just wants dope alien sex.
I just want dope aliens.
Michael wants consent with aliens.
This is true. I want to Will Riker my way through the fucking galaxy. I don't really see what the problem is.
Okay, maybe I am a nerd because I followed every bit of that.
Because you got that. Yeah.
I fucking told you.
I don't know. Next Generation is, that's just standard viewing, that's like reading Shakespeare at this point. I think it's pretty.
It's better.
Given the cast, yeah.
I think there's better lessons.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Way better life lessons and morality.
No,
yeah, true. You're right.
I mean, they were all for gender fluid. They were for gender non-conformity because men wore dress uniforms.
That's
Data
true.
had a child who he let choose its own gender and sex and appearance. I mean, there was polyamory between Riker and literally everyone, but for Riker and Troy, they were like, "Hey, we're totally in love, but I'm gonna go do this guy," and she's like, "Cool, me too," and they were just into it, and that was fine, and nobody cared. Like it was a world of everybody loving, and
and women just frequently being the smartest in the room.
Always, yeah. Although they were very racist towards Ferengi, let's be real. Every time they're Ferengi, they're like, fucking Ferengi, here they go. They're going to fuck up our shit again. I mean, like every single episode. But they did.
To be fair, the Ferengi were pretty shitty.
No, they were, but still.
Ferengi are like Trumplicans.
They were.
Oh my God,
we're far off.
Honestly, we're not that far off topic though.
No, we're not, because we're talking about Mars Attacks. So Mars Attacks came out in 1996. So another very famous alien invasion movie also came out in 1996. So Mars Attacks came out in December of 96. But before that, we had arguably one of the most famous alien invasion films to this day, and I would say probably in top 10 is, of course, Independence Day, which came out on July 3rd, 1996, the same year. Obviously, so these films were kind of being made right around the same time.
Yeah.
And Tim Burton has gone on record as saying, like, it was not as a response to Independence Day. It was just kind of one of those, everybody knew that space movies, alien movies were about to be a thing. So he threw his hat in trying to remake one of those like 60s style, 50s, 60s style, space invasion films.
Yeah. And boy, did he.
Did he.
I don't even know where to start. I mean, is it satire? Is it like just, is it camp? Is it like intended to be like deliver a message? Like this movie's weird in a good way.
In a good way. It feels very homage to me, like very homage to like 50, 60, even the style of everybody, like the military uniforms or 60 style military uniforms. They're not what you would be wearing in 96. Even the color schemes, the brights, was very 60 style. Hairstyles, like Sarah Jessica Parker's hairstyle, was probably a little more akin to that. Lisa Marie, the fake alien, Lisa Marie Presley's hairstyle was very 60s.
Yeah, it was definitely like it had a very mid-century look. The other thing that really stands out to me is, I think you said this already. It's a Tim Burton film, but it's the least Tim Burton feeling film that I've ever seen. In the visual aesthetics and even in the casting, which we'll get into the casting, but like it has like none of his usual people in it. There's not a Depp or a Bonham Carter to be found.
Yeah.
But Danny Elfman, as soon as you hear that score,
yeah,
said that. She's like, of course this is Tim Burton.
Honestly, I didn't realize it was a Tim Burton film until the music started playing, and I was like, wait a second.
Like, hang on.
I know this.
Yeah, so apparently Burton and Elfman had a little bit of a falling out right before this movie when Tim Burton was doing Ed Wood. Apparently him and Elfman kind of got into it, and Elfman left, and then they kind of like made up, and he came back for this film because Ed Wood was the film that Burton did shortly before this.
Okay.
So that's pretty interesting. So it was, he had, let's go back to 96. Yeah. So he did Batman Returns with Elfman, and then he did Ed Wood, and then he did A Visit with Vincent, which looks like it was just like a little 1 hour like documentary thing. And then he came back with Mars Attacks. And, it's funny you mentioned the Depp and Bonham Carter thing. So Johnny Depp had only really been in like one movie before this with Elfman, I think, or with Burton. I think the whole Johnny Depp Bonham Carter thing happened after this, because the next movie he does is Sleepy Hollow in 3 years, and I think that's both of them, Depp and Bonham Carter. But Depp was in Ed Wood because he's Ed Wood, and then he was in Edward Scissorhands. But Bonham Carter wasn't in any of these previous films that I can see, at least.
Yeah, so this was just before that era where he like solidified his cast, and every movie was the same.
Yep, yeah, because then we have Big Fish, I guess, is the okay, but
Big Fish is definitely the exception. Big Fish is a fucking like masterpiece, and it still weirds me out that it's one of his, because I liked his movies so much when I was younger, but then like I kind of stopped, and now like I still love Big Fish so much.
I mean, but like, are you gonna say that? Wait, Sweeney Todd is
Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd,
right?
Yeah.
Sweeney Todd and like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory are not the same movie.
No, I'm being facetious.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, like
it's not. Although, it's not. He's not the Nickelback of directors.
To be fair, though, I have not actually seen Sweeney Todd. I would have, because the story of Sweeney Todd appeals to me. But as soon as I saw the cast, I was like, nah, pass.
I'm
getting looked from both sides here.
The other one to avoid would be Dark Shadows, and both of the Alice in Wonderland films.
Yeah,
they're just bad.
Like Alice in Wonderland.
I know.
This is why I don't listen to this podcast.
The Tim Burton ones, though, like the whole breakdance thing at the end of it lost me.
The Jabberwocky?
The Jabberwocky.
Are you referring to the Jabberwocky?
No, the Jabberwocky is a dragon. The Fraptious Day dance at the end is the like, what the fuck is going on? But then again, I never read the book, so maybe they're in the books. I don't know. I don't read.
Oh wait, yeah, the dance isn't called the Jabberwocky. What's
the Jabberwocky is the creature.
Yeah.
Remember we did that movie Jabberwocky.
Yeah.
And I will say, Johnny Depp annoys the shit out of me, but just as an entire production, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was truer to the original novel than the beloved Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory of our childhood, which is still a great movie. Weird as shit, but still a great movie. But if you're just going like from like true to the story, then like take Johnny Depp out and everything else is like, this is like spot on. This was a well done movie. I guess I mostly don't like Johnny Depp.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
I mean, like recent events, no. But I'm thinking like late 90s, early 2000s, Johnny Depp was one of our first like not toxic masculine actor figures
he was like one of the only goth people, you know, like he just played cool, you know, for the most part, you know, but the
rocked the eyeliner.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest complaint with Johnny Depp is that every time Johnny Depp showed up on screen in the past 15 years, it was a variation of Captain Jack. No matter what character he was playing, he ended up basically playing the same character, which sometimes I appreciate. When you look at an actor like a Will Ferrell, like every time Will Ferrell goes on screen, you know to expect, you know, Ron Burgundy / insert every other Will Ferrell character, and you're like, all right, I know what I'm getting, and this is what I expect of this character. But it becomes grating when it becomes that Captain Jack swagger thing, when you're like, this is like way too much of a caricature, as opposed to Will Ferrell. You're like, I'm getting a specific type of comedy.
Wasn't Captain Jack actually just a rehash of his Fear and Loathing character too?
Pretty much, yeah.
So
I never saw that one.
I haven't seen it either, but like that was the first criticism I heard when I actually had something positive to say about Captain Jack. And I was like, well, it was just his character in Fear and Loathing. Like,
yeah.
Damn it.
I mean, pretty much. So Mars Attacks. So Ellen, did you see this movie in the theater? Because I remember seeing it in the theater with my mom. I was 15 when it came out.
So no, my mother would not have taken us to this. The only movie I remember really seeing in theaters with my mom was Home Alone, and she slept through it. I was like trying to think of like how I would have actually seen this, because I was 10 when it came out. And we weren't go to Blockbuster and spend money, because we didn't have Blockbuster money. And
we didn't need that.
Oh
God!
I'm gonna break everything. I mean, did they just play this on like Channel 9 or something on Friday nights? Like how? I don't know how.
I mean, I remember watching it on TV
times.
Too. Yeah.
Did I break something?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Like I remember watching it on TV too. Can you no longer hear me? Am I? Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So I was saying, I can remember it. I remember watching it on TV, probably late 90s, early 2000s. So I think like TBS used to play it all the fucking time.
I wouldn't have even had that. I didn't have cable. We had bunny ears out in the country and like 4 channels.
I feel like
we might have gotten TBS though.
I feel like I remember. No, it wouldn't have been on.
Oh yeah, TBS is a pay. Yeah, that's right.
It was definitely Turner Broadcasting or whatever. That was
ABC, NBC, and like
Fox,
PBS. We didn't even have Fox.
UPN.
PAX TV.
PAX. Oh god.
PAX. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Everybody got to watch Touched by an Angel, whether they wanted to or not.
But the reason that I would have seen this would have been my older brother.
Yeah,
it was very much something that my older brother liked.
That makes sense,
and probably why I saw it multiple times. So maybe he got to Blockbuster and brought it home, and we watched it somehow. But yeah, I remember seeing it multiple times growing up.
So you actually remember like as a kid, and not just like when you were older and like hanging out with friends and somebody had it or something.
No, I saw it like in the 90s.
Like I definitely remember. Well, I shouldn't say I definitely remember. I have vague recollections of it being on TV as like an older kid / early adult, but I feel like I kind of missed the opportunity on this. Like I did see Independence Day this year. In 1996, not this year in 2021, but in 1996 when it released.
That movie just blew my mind. I'm fucking 40 years old. I saw it for the first time.
And I would have definitely seen the various Batman movies as they were coming out at this point in time. But I feel like maybe like 96, I was a freshman in high school, and so like this probably would have just flown under my radar as like not something my dad would have taken us to see, and I wasn't old enough to go to the movies by myself yet. I was still a few years off from those years. So I think it's one of those instances where like I missed it in the moment, and then just never thought to go back to it. And then I think I was for a long time kind of fooled by the campy cheesiness of it, and thinking like, it's gonna be stupid. Why bother watching that? Like, there's plenty of stupid sci-fi movies out there that I can watch.
Right, and this
little
is one
did
of them.
he know.
Yeah, right. So I mean,
aliens.
It's the aliens that do it, which we learn as some of the fun facts about this is that Tim Burton based the design of the aliens based on an old Topps baseball card that he had, like some 1960s Top baseball card that had Mars aliens on it, and this is what the aliens vaguely looked like.
What?
How fucking wild is that? Or Topps collectible
weird.
card, maybe not baseball card, but a Topps card.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty wild. So, I mean, let's talk about this cast for a minute.
Yeah.
Because for 1996, the budget alone, this was a $70 million budget, had to have been to just pay for the cast.
Yeah.
Damn.
We were watching the opening credits, and I think my exact response was, is anyone not in this?
Right.
And just even like the people, like they're there for 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And gone.
Yeah.
Christina Applegate.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the height of Married with Children at this, but like this is, she is super famous because of Married with Children right now, and she is in this movie for fucking 5 minutes best.
Even Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito,
for like 2 seconds early on in the movie, and then like a scene towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I mean,
so
I need more Danny DeVito.
Yeah,
if Danny DeVito is going to be in this movie.
So we have Jack Nicholson playing two characters.
Yep, which
is
me
wild in itself.
Yeah.
We've got Pierce Brosnan, who is about to be Bond or was just Bond. He is about to be Bond. The World Tomorrow Never Dies comes out the following year.
And I definitely saw that in the theater because my dad was very much into Bond. So like we went to see the Bond movies in the theater.
That's
correct. Oh no, that's not true. He was GoldenEye, 1995.
Yeah, that's what he was like really.
So he was already Bond.
He was already Bond. Yeah. And then, so outside of Pierce Brosnan, we have Sarah Jessica Parker, who is about to, in 2 years, she's about to start on Sex and the City.
Mm-hmm.
So she was known at this point as, I think she was just a rom-com type actress, but she was about to be, Sarah Jessica Parker. We have Annette Bening.
She wasn't yet.
What I mean? She wasn't a Sarah Jessica Parker.
Fuck whatever her birth certificate says. She wasn't Sarah Jessica Parker.
People were just calling her Sarah Parker, and she was like, it's just not evolved yet. She was only like a tier 2 Pokemon. She was or tier 1 Pokemon. She hadn't fully evolved yet.
She was a basic Pokemon.
She was basic. She was getting there. We have Annette Bening. We have Glenn Close. We have Danny DeVito, Martin Short, Michael J. Fox, which this is the very last appearance of Michael J. Fox in a feature film. Shortly after this, he announced that he had Parkinson's and he only started doing TV appearances.
Was it that long ago?
It was.
Yeah.
I remember feeling like this was like this sense of like impending doom that we were going to lose Michael J. Fox like any day now.
Like any day. Yeah.
What was that Office show? Did he do that?
Spin
like,
City.
Right
I fucking loved Spin City.
Spin City, yeah.
That was such a good show. Barry Bostwick. I think Spin City started at this exact same time.
Gosh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so Michael J. Fox, we have Lucas Haas, we have Tom Jones, the man himself.
As himself.
Which is just brilliant. And his backup singers are his actual backup singers in the movie.
Brilliant.
We have Natalie Portman, who is 15 at this point in this movie, because she's the same age as us, as Caleb and I.
Yeah.
We've got Jim Brown. We got Lisa Marie Presley, which is crazy. We've got, let me think, Pam Grier, Jack Black.
Sylvia Sidney, this was her final film performance as well.
Oh, right.
She did some Fantasy Island in 98 and then passed, I think, very shortly after. In fact, let me see. Yeah, she died in 99. Yeah. So she died 3 years after this movie was released. So this was her final cinematic role after a pretty lengthy and pretty well-known career. So, pour one out for Sylvia Sidney.
Heck yeah! And for those of you who, for those of you that are maybe follow Tim Burton films, she is Juno, the caseworker from Beetlejuice. That is her. Yeah. So we got Pam Grier, we've got Jack Black making a very odd cameo in it.
So weird.
He's so young too.
He's so young. Yeah, he's so young. He's very thin. We've got a Ray J. Who is about to hit some reality TV stars much later. Ray J plays Pam Grier and Jim Brown's kid, one of their kids. I mean, Christina Applegate is in this. Like, it's pretty wild. Like the amount of people you see them and you're like, oh, like dang.
We've made mention to the Star Trek franchises and to Touched by an Angel, and I feel like we would be remiss to not point out that Paul Winfield was in The Wrath of Khan and was in Touched by an Angel.
Hitting that double whammy. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so Mars Attacks.
Ridiculous cast.
Ridiculous. It is crazy, and even so, again, like looking back on it, it's still pretty like. Holy cow. But think of 1996 when these people are like, I mean, this is an A-list cast. And you think like, obviously Tim Burton at this point is very popular because of Batman. Like now, Tim Burton wouldn't be able to pull in an A-list cast like that because, after paying Depp and Bonham Carter, like he's already run out of budget money. So, but like, it's wild to think that Tim Burton's pulling in these people.
Oh my God. So looking at the writers for the series, they're also credited as writers for trading cards. And the very first one,
amazing.
Len Brown, is credited for writing for the Garbage Pail Kids.
Oh, yes.
How much sense does that make after watching this movie?
That sounds about right. Yeah. So we've got a bunch. Woody Gellum, Wally Wood, Bob Powell, Norman Saunders. And then we have Jonathan Gems, who is and also Jonathan Gems. There's a fact about Jonathan Gems where he was like, oh yeah, the Mars Attacks movie, it was great. Nothing I wrote made it to the final film, but it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. But apparently Tim Burton is a uncredited writer. So pretty much it looks like Jonathan Gems wrote the story and then Tim Burton went in and was like, no, I'm going to fucking change that shit. We're just erased half of it.
So as we're talking about cast, we play the game of, well, if we were to recast this.
Oh yeah.
And in the scene where Pierce Brosnan is getting interviewed by Sarah Jessica Parker and he's playing, like smart guy scientist, I could not help but picture him as Jeff Goldblum.
Oh yeah.
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park,
straight
sexy
out of
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
Being the smart guy.
Playing the aliens. The aliens.
Yes, exactly. And especially like this, we talk about this same year, he was playing a scientist that was trying to save the world from aliens in Independence Day. That would have been great. The whole time I was trying to figure out if it was in fact Jack Nicholson playing Alan Land or whatever the hell the character's name was, the
casino owner guy,
casino cowboy. The whole time I was trying to figure that out because I'm like, this looks like Jack Nicholson, but I'm not sure. All I could think of was Nicolas Cage. This guy should have been Nicolas Cage.
Oh, 100%.
It wouldn't have even if anything, it probably would have made the budget less because he would have had to pay Jack Nicholson as much to play two roles.
To play two roles, yeah.
Like Nicolas Cage would have done it for like a 20 and a cold beer or something.
I mean, I guess that's who wasn't in this movie.
That's basically,
That's the one person they left out of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, in 1996, Nick Cage is doing really well. Like, nobody thinks of Nick Cage as the guy that does weird, shitty movies in 1996. Like, he's doing good movies in I mean, like, he's right off the heels of Raising Arizona. I mean, like, he's got some good shit under his belt at this point. What he's got, The Rock, I think, is came out right around this time.
I'm trying to find his profile to. Face Off was 97.
Right, so that's coming up.
Let's see. Let's scroll
which
back.
is getting a remake, by the way, which is supposedly a continuation.
Yeah, so The Rock was 96, Leaving Las Vegas was 95, and like he had a bunch of shit in the early 90s, and then immediately after this was Con Air, Face Off, City of Angels, Snake Eyes, 8mm. Like he was just
those are like banging off those hits.
Out the hits.
Yeah, I mean looking back, those movies aren't fantastic, but like they're better than fucking Jiu-Jitsu, which we just watched. Like I would watch 5 Con Airs before I ever watch Jiu-Jitsu again.
The Iris music video is the best Nicolas Cage movie.
And I don't want to see me. No, they don't understand. Oh, Nick Cage. Anyways, so we've got Mars Attacks. Let's actually take a quick break, and then we'll actually talk about Mars Attacks, the movie and the plot. So let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will carry on with the Tim Burton directed and written and produced Mars Attacks.
Looking for something heroic in your life? Go check out our friends at the Super Pod HeroCast. They're guys with beers talking about movies with capes. Every episode goes in depth with a different superhero movie. A classic of modern cinema? A certified stinker? It doesn't matter. If it's a superhero movie, they're going to talk about it. Start with a little bit of comedy, add in some film analysis, and finish it off with a heaping dose of geekery. You've got the Superpod HeroCast. It doesn't matter if you're a casual fan or a 20th level nerd. Download their latest episode, grab a beverage, and enjoy the fun. The Superpod HeroCast. Be heroic.
Second Edition 1 is Night Shift Radio's Battlestar Galactica fancast. Each week, Battlestar veterans Caleb and Kitsy revisit, and newcomer to the show, Andrea, watches for the first time the 2004 sci-fi series Battlestar Galactica. They've just entered their 3rd season, which means you've got 2 full seasons of sci-fi gold to binge if you want to watch along with them. Whether you're the commander of a soon-to-be decommissioned battleship, or were recently promoted to president of the 12 colonies. Join Caleb, Kitsy, and Andrea as they make their way through the Battlestar Galactica universe one episode at a time. Watch Battlestar Galactica free on Peacock and find Second Edition 1 at Second Edition 1 throughout the podcast.com or wherever you get podcasts. Hello and welcome back. All right. So let's begin. Yeah. How does Mars Attacks begin? Other than Danny Elfman music.
It begins just a couple weeks from now in early May.
Oh, yeah.
Which was also something we didn't plan.
Yeah.
But they're out on a farm, and one of the locals rolls by and sees his neighbor. He's like, "You barbecuing? Smells good. What is that?" Like, that's not my family. Like, I don't know. And then along come just a stampede of flaming cows, which is one of the best ways to start a movie that I've ever seen.
A great way to start a movie. Because you think of like Independence Day starts off, Independence Day started off with us seeing the aliens, fly over the moon. Like we see the moon thing and the moon dust starts shaking and the big ship flies over and then it cuts to normal things. But this one, the aliens are already here and they're cooking cow. They're having a barbecue in Lockjaw, Kentucky. And they're just like, fuck it, we're here. Shoot some cows. All right, let's bounce.
We get to see the credits are set to this like massive squadron of flying saucers leaving Mars and heading for Earth, which in this depiction is basically just as far away as the moon.
Yeah, no, it's pretty close. Yeah. Yeah. They're like throwing rocks and hitting the Earth and being like idiots.
I gotta say, my favorite part about these aliens, though, is that they came to Earth with the mission just to mess up everybody's day.
Literally just to fuck shit.
They just wanted to fuck with everybody. They're like, these dumbasses. Like, they're gonna believe when we say we come in peace. It's like they watched the alien movies from the 60s before they came to Earth to find out how they could trick the dumb humans on the planet Earth.
It's very rude.
Yeah, it is great too. Like that, they get there and you have the whole translation thing, and Pierce Brosnan's like, no, they've managed interplanetary travel. Like, there's no way that they're gonna come here and be violent. Like, look at their giant heads. Like, once they finally see him, like, it's obvious that they're an advanced race, therefore they're peaceful. And then they come here and they're just like, rack, 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 pow, 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 pow. It's fantastic.
The moment where they land in the Nevada desert and the army's all there to make sure that they're not there with hostile intentions, but they have the translation device set up, and and it's like, we come in peace, and the hippie dude's like, they come in peace, and releases the dove. I lost it. That's so good.
And then these aliens don't like those doves.
I don't like them birds, Jerry. It turns out these aliens are from Michigan.
So another interesting I thought was weird is, when we see all the hippie people there, and they're about, you guys just drank perfectly in sync, by the way. It was the most adorable thing in the world.
12 years. 12 years, Michael.
That's the way to do it. So... But I think it's interesting is that we see all the hippies there in the desert as they're about to meet the aliens. But next year, in 1997, we get the movie Contact, in which we have the same thing happen. We have a bunch of hippies in the desert as they're building the giant space thing, and it's all the same sort of thing. So, like, Hollywood was really convinced that the hippies were just going to come out and fucking do Burning Man at the site of alien stuff.
That is also the plot of Muppets from Space, which came out in 1999 and is, in my opinion, one of the best movies of all time.
Really? Of all the Muppet movies, Muppets in Space?
Muppets
That's like...
From Space. Excuse me. Get it right.
Because it's Gonzo. He's from space. Really? I mean, that's like on my low, like, that's like one of the Muppet movies where I'm like, and if you have time, maybe you can watch Muppets from Space. But, like, of all the Muppet movies...
Don't try to understand, Michael.
I don't.
Here's the thing. The Muppet movies, every single one of them, absolute classics, absolute gems. And yes, I did see them as a childhood. When I was engaging in a childhood, I too had a child. Wait. No. I did see these movies.
Maybe take that offline.
I did see these movies as a kid, but they were made, well before I was born for the most part, or like early childhood, and I would see them like maybe on TV in reruns. Again, like we did go to the local video store, never Blockbuster, again, when nobody had Blockbuster money, but we'd go down to like the Video Barn or whatever the fuck was nearby, and we'd rent the Dollar Tuesday movie nights or whatever. And so I'm sure that I saw the movies then, but Muppets from Space was the first one that came out after like I had kind of established an identity of who I am, and also when I was independent enough to be able to go to movies by myself. And I went to the theater to see this new Muppet movie, the first Muppet movie in however many years it had been, and it connected to me. It connected with me. It's got some great jokes. It's sci-fi, which is right up my alley, and I love it. And so it has a special place in my heart. So that is not to say that it is objectively better than any of the other Muppet movies, but
sure,
to me, it is one of the finest movies of all time.
You know what? I can respect that, because mine is Muppets Take Manhattan, and people always are like, really? What about the Great Muppet Caper or the original Muppet movie? And I'm like, yeah, but like Muppets Take Manhattan, like the music's better. It's got a cool plot. It's in New York City. It's pretty fucking cool. But I get it. That's
probably the one that I remember best after Muppets from Space.
Yeah. Oh, it was such a good movie. Anyways, back to Mars Attacks.
Ellen's learning things.
Just when you think too much.
So
more.
Just when I think I couldn't respect you less. That's what that translates to.
She's like actively trying to pull a wedding ring off her finger.
Oh, I haven't worn the wedding ring in over a year at this point.
I mean,
who do we got to impress?
I
Right.
don't leave the house.
It's also a Christian symbol of oppression. It doesn't mean anything.
Exactly.
So Mars Attacks. So we get our message. We see the alien, we see the Martians, we see that they have attacked the cows and the whole spiel. We finally get our broadcast. And at this point, we've been introduced to a lot of characters. We've got Jack Nicholson as President James Dale. We've met Professor Donald Kessler, who is Pierce Brosnan. We've met Natalie Lake, who is Sarah Jessica Parker, who, by the way, her Chihuahua was actually Lisa Marie Presley's Chihuahua, which is pretty interesting.
The fun facts on this movie are endless.
Oh, they're just, with a cast like this, it would have to be. We see that Sarah Jessica Parker is actually married to the Michael J. Fox character, who is Jason Stone. Now, Jason Stone appears to be somebody who's probably the host of like a Deadline type show, whereas Sarah Jessica Parker is more like an E-network type show.
Yeah.
The assumption, but Sarah Jessica Parker actually gets the interview with Kessler. Boy, does she nail that interview. Let's not lose our heads about it. But
Oh.
Brilliant.
Took notes.
But which is interesting because Sarah Jessica Parker is married to Matthew Broderick, who is of the same stature as of Michael J. Fox. He's a tiny dude, just like Michael J. Fox.
Also, not a pairing that I would have expected.
Yeah, Sarah Jessica Parker and Matthew Broderick.
Did you not see Ferris Bueller either?
Yeah, but
so I've seen it. Did I watch it? That's debatable.
But like Ferris Bueller, Matthew Broderick is not the same as the Matthew Broderick Sarah Jessica Parker marries. That's like going to like marry Judd Nelson now and being like, yeah, because if you were cool about it, but that's what you are now. Never mind. Like he's just like this old dumpy dude now, and like, back then he was like this cool badass guy. I'm sure he's a cool badass guy. I'm not trying to dump on Judd Nelson. Is it Judd Nelson? Is that who I'm thinking of? Is Judd Nelson?
I don't know any of these names.
Judd Nelson was from Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club, yes.
Yeah. Like, but you look at him now and you're like,
Look at those sunglasses, though.
Wait, is that him, like, at the same time period as the Breakfast Club?
No, that's, like, more recent. That photo has to be in the past, like, 15 years. He's on some show. Like, he was on, like, a CSI or something.
He was the dude with, like, the long
he
long
had
hair.
the, like, he's the
bad boy.
Yeah.
I did the thing, but...
You can't see, but it's off camera. Yeah. Oh, now I want to watch Pitch Perfect again. That's all.
That's all I think of when I hear that song. It's Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we have talked about every movie except for Mars Attacks.
You really haven't listened to this podcast, have you?
I'm not lying when I said that.
No. I think we spent maybe 15 minutes talking about jujitsu last week, and it was just screaming, and then the rest we talked about anything else. But yeah. But anyways,
some movies we go through in detail and basically cover every plot point, and others were just like, well, that was weird, but here's this other thing that was interesting.
Well, I mean, the thing, especially this movie, this is definitely a movie that I would say a lot of our listeners have probably watched. Maybe not all, but a lot of our listeners have probably already watched this movie. So, we'll get to...
Do we know their age bracket?
Our demographic...
Listeners, how old are you?
Yeah, our demographic is very varied, but it's around our ages. It's that, like, 20 to 40. Watch yourself there, Ellen. You are a guest on this podcast.
You are a guest in my house at least once a week, Michael.
We will not be having that sort of language here. Thank you very much. I know you're new here, so you don't know the rules. Please don't make me call your mom. Ellen's on the phone. Mom, can you come pick me up? They're being mean to me.
Little do you know,
if this gets back to Judy.
little do you know that is the main topic of conversation between my mother and her sisters is who looks older.
Great.
Yes.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah, unfortunately, in my family, everybody's a fucking clone of each other. So everybody looks the exact same age and looks exactly the same. It just, there's no arguing that.
I was also informed today that the volume of my laugh and the potential topics that I might be laughing about are a regular point of conversation between Ellen and her mother when they're talking while we record.
Well,
that's amazing.
I don't actually know what you guys are talking about. We'll just hear this booming laugh come through the door into the living room. Ho, 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 ho. And I will be on the phone with my mother, and she just goes, "Is that Caleb? What's he laughing at?" I'm like, "Oh, he's recording." And she was like, "Oh." And like, it's not, I mean, it's a decent distance away with the door closed.
It's basically as far away as we can be in this house.
Yeah. But then she just goes, "Oh, well, that's nice." I love hearing people laugh. Hearing people laugh is my favorite.
It's great.
Well, Mom, I got a guest room for you.
I'm trying to be a little bit tamer today because I think I might be picking up some in her microphone, and I don't want this to be a nightmare to edit. But at the same time, like,
however it turns out, you got it. Yeah, no restraints, no holds barred, Caleb. That's how we like it.
So it's important to note that we've talked about what a fucking ridiculous A-list cast this is and how many people they brought on and how much of this budget had to be like just for the people. And they did this just to literally kill off almost every character.
Character.
That's a power move.
It totally is. I thought that was the most interesting thing about this is, especially in a time like this where it's like, the heroes triumph, they do have two characters triumph, which, I guess survive in the end. That's Lucas Haas and Natalie Portman.
And Grandma.
Yeah.
Grandma figures it out.
Byron the boxer. Like, there's a very small handful of people that are just like...
The kids?
Yeah, like the ones that, like, would not normally be the survivors in a big action movie like this, and I love that.
Yeah,
we do need to talk about Taffy.
Yes.
Yeah,
because Taffy is that angsty teen. What do they call the children of the president? Trapped.
I have no idea.
Oh, I don't know. I know that they have some sort of
children.
Yeah, the first children. I know that they have a special name, but I don't know what it is.
But she is just that like perfect 90s angsty teen, and like has a good scope of humanity, and that the world is just a fucked up place, like we all knew at that age. And after the first big blow up and attack, and they're trying to decide maybe there was just a misunderstanding, and right. She's like, yeah, maybe like doves aren't a sign of peace in their world or whatever. Right. Fast forward to the next attack and the blow up, where let's just all talk about this fantasy of completely obliterating Congress.
They blew up Congress.
They blew up Congress, just gone. Sea of white men, gone.
Yeah.
And then she just goes, well, I guess it wasn't the dove. And I just relate to that so much. Oh, well, that's not it.
I also love how it very obviously wasn't the actual Congress, like the Capitol building, which like you would think that would be a readily available set to film in, because Congress is never fucking there working.
Right. Get them. Fucking get them. Yeah, which was great, and that was actually something that was I remember being prevalent in all of the trailers. Was they show the alien, he knocks over the mic, he blows away Congress, and we see Sylvia, say the grandma say, "Haha, they blew up Congress," and that was like the big marketing point of that, and showing them, like knock over the White House, knock over the Washington Monument, and all those sort of things. And I thought that was really, yeah. And they keep tilting it, like,
trying to get the kids.
Oh, you're gonna run that way? Wait, no, let's teeter-totter this back.
That's that, like, see, this is, and I think this is one of those things that make people like surprised that this is a Burton movie, because there is that level of comedy to it, but it's almost at a level of slapstick that you're not used to with Burton. You're used to that sort of like dark, like one-liners. Yeah, I'm gonna say this very dry line, and you're gonna get how witty and smart it is, and then be like, oh, that's clever. Like think of all the writing in Edward Scissorhands versus this.
Like half of the scenes in this movie with the aliens just wrecking shit could have been set to the
yeah. But then there was Danny Elfman. It was like dun 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 dun.
And our other survivors, the two kids.
Yeah.
The first we see of them, they're playing video games at the arcade. And their mom's a bus driver.
Cedric and what's the brother's name?
Oh, I couldn't find him in the IMDb credits because there's so many. But
Neville, Cedric and Neville.
Cedric and Neville.
Ray J was Cedric.
Yep, that's the most like British names ever. Like
really
young DC kids.
And Brandon Hammond, who was also in Space Jam.
Yes.
Hey.
Yep.
Only basketball I ever watched.
Yeah. It's the best All-Star game ever.
Yeah. So mom's driving the bus down the street, and she's been worried about where the kids are, and she sees them in the arcade.
Oh, that scene is just...
We gotta make an unscheduled stop.
She just goes in there and drags their asses on the bus. And gets them home. But little did she know, and this was peak time of us all being told that video games were terrible for us, and that they were going to, we were going to all become violent, horrible people. But looks like okay, boomer.
Yeah, right.
But those kids, while they're in the White House tour, see the aliens go down, grab a couple guns, and kick some ass.
It's so great.
They have more of a body count in this movie than literally anybody other than Grandma. Like, literally nobody kills as many aliens. And we see them active, like, even in the military scene, in the very first scene where we see them, and the dove goes off and they start shooting. Even in the military scene, we see like one die, maybe. And the military's got tanks and guns and stuff like that, and like one falls over. And everybody, but these two kids are like, pow, headshot, pow, headshot, pow, headshot. What are you standing here with the president for? Get that guy out of here, pow. Like they're just like gunning him down and being like, you idiot white guys, why are you standing here? Like,
this
do your job.
The moment we trained for.
Right. Oh, it was brilliant.
We know how to do this.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was great. That was great too. Yeah. Oh my God. There's so much to this movie. Like we have the whole casino thing, when Jack Nicholson plays the casino owner guy, and that's where we also have Jim
Galaxy
Brown.
Hotel.
Yeah. To do the Galaxy Hotel and Casino.
And then, that's where we meet Byron, who is a former boxer, who is now, just basically just an entertainer at this casino. And we learned that Byron is the father of Cedric and Neville, was it? Yeah. Of Cedric and Neville, and that he was with Pam, and he's basically out working in Vegas because, like, he was in the boxing ring, and this is, like in the circuit, and this is where he ended up. And so, but she was back in DC, and he's kind of there just making money.
Do you think that What's Her Nuts was inspired for character names from this movie, Cedric and Neville?
Oh, you think so? Cedric Diggory and Neville Longbottom? She was watching Mars Attacks and writing Harry Potter and was like, yeah. Yeah, I like those
She
names.
studied up on Tim Burton storylines before
Right.
writing.
Brilliant.
This is brilliant. Too bad they're black though, but that's brilliant.
It's funny because she's a terrible person.
It's true. So, one of the other things we talk about too about this is budgets. So I mentioned the budget was $70 million, but this only did $9 million opening weekend. It's not great. Yeah, I mean,
not great. It's a little bit of an exaggeration.
Gross, it only did 37 domestically, so here in the United States area. But worldwide, it did end up doing $101 million. So it did make its money back. It ended up, doing a $30 million profit. And so this is definitely one of those movies that debuted and they were like, fuck. And then they were like, that's fine. We'll send it to China and make our money back. And then they did. And so they were probably happy about it.
Well,
I would love...
episode just hasn't aired yet, so that's going to double.
Yeah. I would love to know where the actual top grossing was for this. Like, what country fucking loved seeing America get wrecked by aliens?
We're just like, fuck those dudes. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, so international. Yeah, so gross worldwide was 101. Internationally, it was 63.6 million, but it doesn't list them by country. Normally it does list by country of where the big releases were, but I can only imagine China, just because that's where most Hollywood films land. Awesome. And they bank on them making money.
I love that they lump US and Canada together, so we don't know just how badly it did domestically.
Right. Even the Canadians were like, nah, we'll pass, eh?
Hey, America getting fucked up again, eh?
Hey,
didn't we just see that?
I just watched that movie 6 months ago.
Did you just do that for your birthday? Oh wait, that's not Canadian.
Went from Canadian to...
Who knows what they sound like?
No one's ever been to Canada.
Right.
I don't even know what they... It's
not even real. Canada's not real.
How many hours did we spend watching Letterkenny? And that's the best you have.
Listen, I grew up practically close enough to piss on Canada. I wouldn't. I love Canada, but somehow still have never been able to do justice to the Canadian accent.
Yeah,
the Canadian accent is there's only one.
There's only
one way of speaking. You cross that border and that's it.
Yeah, I mean Canada's literally the size of the United States, but there's only one. Accent across I mean, people only live in 4 towns in all of Canada. 90% of Canada is just fucking snow.
They huddle as close to the southern border as possible because that's where it's warmest for them. But then
then they have to be close to us.
If you go anywhere in the northern US, though, the closer you get to the Canadian border, the more sparsely populated it is. So it's the exact opposite. And it's hilarious because you're driving, if you go up along the northern tier of New York, it's this wilderness and cabins on the lake and whatnot, and there's barely electricity, but you look across the lake and there's booming cities.
Even Ellen, you make a good point, because America is basically a fire, because from far away, when you're looking at a fire from far away, you're like, oh, that's really pretty. Oh, that's kind of warm. I should get close to it. But then when you're standing in it, you're like, this is terrible. Flesh is burning off my body. The smell is terrible. Everything is bad. Why am I standing in this fire? That is America as a whole. So you're spot on there about that.
And you're fired, so nobody else wants you around either.
Right. Yeah. And then you try to leave and they're like, whoa, you're on fire, dude. Sit the fuck down. I don't want you. It's the rest of the world. Oh boy, America. America.
We should master that Canadian accent if we ever want to travel internationally again, though.
Yeah, you're probably right. Or at the very least, try to get a northern Midwest, be as vaguely Minnesotan as possible, because that's close.
Or gone Scottish again.
Yeah,
work on your British.
Accents are not my thing. I don't know if you know this about me. They're not. And I think I blame the goofy tooth, but whatever. We talked briefly about Danny Elfman's participation in this, and of course the Danny Elfman score is a Danny Elfman score. They're always fantastic.
Yeah.
But there's one very standout thing that, much like how the visuals of this and the comedy aspect of this and whatnot don't feel like a typical Tim Burton movie, there is a part of the score that doesn't feel like a traditional Danny Elfman score, and that's the theremin. And I mentioned to you earlier that we need to pose this question to our listeners. Would sci-fi as we know it exist without the invention of the theremin? Or, as Kitsy counterproposed, does the theremin only exist because of sci-fi?
What's a theremin?
So a theremin, there's two wires. It's like two things.
That noise in sci-fi.
Oh! I bumped my mic. So there's like it's like this,
it's
right?
Like this proximity thing. Like the closer you get to it, it makes a noise, and it's like all of that like spacey sound that you ever hear in like classic sci-fi. That's there.
Yeah. The original like the was theremin, and then it eventually moved to synth keyboard. But yeah, no, I think the theremin owes its popularity to 60s sci-fi, because I mean, like, Mozart wasn't walking around being like, hey, do you know what my next symphony needs? A fucking theremin, because they didn't exist then. But let's pretend, that he was like, hey, it'd be really fucking dope? A theremin? Let's throw that right in.
Just readily, like on the internet now. 1928, apparently, they were invented.
Oh, interesting.
By Leon Theremin.
Oh, well, that's clever. So it's not just a clever name. It's.
I assumed it was like a mid-century like spacey term, also known as the aetherphone, or the thereminaphone.
Thereminaphone.
Or the thereminavox.
Oh, thereminavoxes. I like that one.
Yeah, this is.
So I've never played a theremin.
They got smaller over time to the point where they'd be like just like a box with these wires coming out of them, but it was like a desk-size appliance when it was first introduced.
I remember seeing one once. They're fucking huge. Yeah, I remember seeing one like in high school or like middle school or something. It was fucking huge, but I thought it was cool because it's just where you put your hand in the thing. So like if your hand is lower, it like has a low sound, but the higher it goes, the higher the sound is. But then if you move left or right, that's how you get your vibrato. So like you move to the right and it's more vibration, and then move in, it's more solid, and down, low note, high note. So you're kind of like,
and it's wild because like whether or not you know what a theremin is, if you've ever seen classic sci-fi, you know exactly what a theremin is as soon as you hear it.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Because as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh, aliens, here we go. Aliens and space lasers. Let's do it.
Is the sound of aliens.
Yeah, that's your indicator. Whereas like what's the ghost one? Because like ghosts have their own, like, as soon as you hear the music, it's like strings, dissonant, like dissonant strings music. You're like, oh, it's fucking ghosts. Or here we go.
Just a really deep piano note.
Yeah. Boom. Ding, 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 ding. Yep. And then it's getting fucking spooky. Oh yeah, like children's music box.
Yeah.
Oh
god.
Yeah.
Bling, 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 bling.
Nope. Creepy motherfuckers.
Oh god, I hate him.
So Mars Attacks. So we haven't really talked about Mars Attacks a lot, but here's the thing: you've likely seen Mars Attacks. It's a wild movie.
I'm the asshole here who hasn't.
You're the asshole here who hasn't, but I mean, it was still worth watching. So, should you watch this movie? Yeah, totally. It's standard sci-fi.
If anything, just to see the final scene where Tom Jones becomes Snow White.
Yeah, I just love that. And he's like, all right, let's fucking do this, Tom Jones. Yeah.
Oh my god. It's perfect. Like, the satire and the comedy in this movie is about flawless. I knew it would be fun, but I didn't expect to actually enjoy it this much.
Yeah. No, it was fun to rewatch this movie. I have not watched this movie in a long time. It's definitely been at least 10 years. So it was fun to revisit this film. And again, be surprised at the amazing cast of this movie. So there it is. So thanks a lot for watching, everyone. Ellen, thank you very much for coming on. and
thank you.
chatting about Mars Attacks with us. We super appreciate it. So again, thanks a lot for listening. For those of you watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And for those of you listening on your podcast player of choice, also, don't forget to subscribe. And of course, if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and review. We super appreciate it. And for more information about the Night Shift Radio group and all the things we're doing, don't forget to check out our mailing list, which is linked down below. Woo. So thanks a lot for joining us, everyone. We will see you next time.
Bye.